Hello, everyone. Welcome back. You're listening to a very special Women's Day episode of The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok, a podcast of, for, and by the millennials. I'm your host, Shlok Ramchandran.
And I'm your co-host Tanvi Lad. Hi Shlok, what's up?
Before we start off, I would like to wish you and all the listeners a very happy Women's Day.
Thank you.
Yes, वैसे every day should be Women's Day. So I don't believe in that concept कि मतलब Mother's Day, Father's Day. I think every day is Women's Day and every day is Men's Day also.
You are
So
a true
yeah,
feminist, Shlok. I really appreciate
I
that. I mean,
agree.
how can there be one day to celebrate women? I mean, look at the multiple roles that an ordinary woman has to perform. From the time she wakes up, she has to be a mother, she has to be a homemaker, she has to manage the house, she has to go to office, be a career woman, pursue her dreams and aspirations, look after the kids, look after, there's so many roles that a housewife or a career woman even has to always balance work and her personal life. So she's a heroine every day, and I think there shouldn't be one day or one month. She should be celebrated every day of the year.
Shout out to all the mothers out there who are listening to our episode. Wishing you a very, very happy Women's Day, 365 days a year, and may you continue to be as awesome as you are. Then, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. It's your day, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just going to wait.
No, I mean, taking that thought forward, female athletes. I mean, in the past decade, I think we've seen almost a golden era of sorts when it comes to women really making it big on the sporting stage. I mean, if I thought we just start off by giving our listeners a slight, a small recap of the brilliant performances of some of our female athletes. What say?
Yes. What's your pick so far? I mean, you've been watching sport for a very long time now. So if I would ask one pick of yours, and please don't be biased because I'm going to say PV Sindhu, but what's your pick of one of the best Indian female performances?
I think someone who I've always looked up to for her, I think she's just a symbol of grit, pure grit, resilience, amazing fitness, of course, and someone who uses adversity as an opportunity to very often, show her true metal, showcase her true metal is none other than Mary Kom. She has proved that age is just a number. Um, 6 world titles, and even post pregnancy she's made a comeback, gone on to win a bronze at the Asian Games. So she is someone who is absolutely remarkable, whether it's her fitness levels. She's proved beyond doubt that she is India's number one female boxer. And yes, she did go through a bit of controversy in the middle with Nikhat Zareen challenging her position a little bit in the trials, but she used it as an opportunity to just make her supremacy even more established.
Was, in my opinion, I think Saina Nehwal and MC Mary Kom are India's first superstars in sport, and I'm not talking about men's or females. I think what they've done is commendable because they set the ball rolling, and she comes from Northeast. She comes, where we haven't seen a lot of sporting superstars, but what she has achieved over the years, I think we'll need a separate episode. So if anybody from Mary's team is listening, we would love to have you also on the podcast. So fingers crossed, we'll have someday Mary Com also on the podcast for all of our listeners.
Yes, and of course, if we, it's actually very heartening, the fact that we have two badminton players. Of course, you mentioned Saina and of course PV Sindhu, who have sort of led this golden era. Before 2010, we had literally one female Olympian. On the world stage, and in this decade we've had Saina and Sindhu, two very hardworking and talented badminton players, lead this charge. Where we've seen PV Sindhu win that. Of course, she went on to win the Arjuna Award at the age of 18. She was a prodigy to start with, and then she's just grown from strength to strength. Worked on her weaknesses. We've both seen the kind of hard work and effort she puts in day in and out at the Gopichand Academy in Hyderabad. And of course, the crowning glory came when she won the World Championships at Basel. Of course, you can probably take us through her journey at the World Championships.
Was she didn't win. She hammered everyone. And I saw her playing right from round one. She was playing like it was her ghar ka courts,
Men
as if she
singles.
was, yeah, as if she was, as if the courts were right next to her house. She would come and she was absolutely thrashing everyone left, right, and center. I think a lot of men singles players were also afraid, saying that thank God she's not playing here. But that final against Nozomi Okuhara, I mean, to beat Nozomi Okuhara on single digits in a final, considering what happened a couple of years back in Glasgow, where they had such a big marathon battle, and to come and beat her in single digits was was unbelievable. I was there. I was watching from the stands. I was cheering from the stands, and that is by far one of the most emphatic performances by any Indian sports person, for sure. Like, I mean, it was just a treat to watch her in action in Basel. And speaking of which, in Basel, she is right now in Basel playing the Swiss Open and has gone through the quarterfinals. So, I'm hoping that she gets her form back at the Swiss Open. But enough of Sindhu. I mean, we know Sindhu. A lot of talkers about Saina. You've been teammates with Saina also. You've been in that Asian Games bronze medal winning squad, in the Uber Cup medal winning squad. What's her mentality like?
For lack of better words, she's a bull when it comes to mental strength. I mean, I haven't seen, of course, she's ridiculously talented in terms of, her anticipation, her ability to read different opponents. But I think the one quality that separates her from the other Indian women singles players is her ability to, just raise the level of her game. And that boils down to pure mental strength. I've seen the way she trains, and I associate, as a women's singles player, I associate with her training style quite a lot. She puts in the hard yards. She pushes her body to the hilt when it comes to putting in the effort. No compromises. We've all seen the way she trains on court, off court, in the gym. It's 110%, I would say, in training, and she carries that mentality onto court. It's almost like, this Tarzan mentality that she carries onto court. I think that just gives her the mental strength in those crucial moments. You've never seen Saina lose from 18 all, 19 all. She raises her level even more at that point. So that's what makes her really special. And besides that, of course, her ability to her anticipation, I think, is one of her trademark strengths. She's beaten people who, in her opinion, she's gone on record to say that she doesn't consider herself the most skillful or most talented, and she's gone on to beat higher ranked, talented Thai and Chinese players, based on this mental strength and ability to outplay her opponents, outmaneuver them.
I remember Saina being the only non-Chinese player in the top four. You had Van Zin, Wang Shixian, Wang Yihan, and Li Jure, and Saina was,
Yeah.
trying to, Saina and Julian Schenk were the players who were trying to outsmart these Chinese players, because damn, that Chinese women's team was, I think, one of the best world badminton has ever seen.
Yeah.
Somebody like Shixian Wang never played in Olympics just because Li Jure, Wang Yihan, and Wang Zin were ahead of them. So that
Absolutely.
shows, and obviously taking nothing away from Sindhu, but you don't have that same quality of Chinese players apart from Chen Yufei now. So yeah, Saina, absolutely set the ball rolling. But we've also had some memorable performances by a lot of our female athletes in from different sports. In TT, you've had Manika Batra doing so well at the Commonwealth Games. Squash, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, before we move on to other sports, what is in this Hyderabad soil? Is it the soil or is it the biryani? I'm sometimes confused. Look at the battalion of players we have from that city. I mean, there's of course Saina and Sindhu, and then Jwala, and in tennis we have Sania Mirza, who's again broken umpteen number of barriers, be it battling injuries, surgeries, pregnancy. She's seen through it all, and she's gone on to become world number one alongside Martina Hingis, win multiple Grand Slams in doubles when the world was questioning her singles career. She has another very great example of mental strength, grit, determination. Is it something to do with the city, or I'm at a loss?
And it's got nothing to do with the city. I was there. I was training for 10 years. It's got nothing to do with the city. It's finally the athlete, what the athlete does. There's absolutely no denying that. Hyderabad की मिट्टी में कुछ नहीं है. It is just that उनके अंदर जो मिट्टी है वो बहुत ज़्यादा ही अलग ही मिट्टी है वो कहते हैं ना, वो अंबुजा सीमेंट का ऐड देखा है, टूटेगी कैसे, अंबुजा सीमेंट से जो बनी है. So that is what they have within them. So yeah, so absolutely, all superstars in their own right.
Absolutely. So sorry to cut you, but you were talking about other racket sports.
Yes, TT, you've had Manika Batra. Squash, you had Joshna Chinnappa and Deepika Palikal, who've just got squash back in India, and squash has actually become a very popular sport now. It's just because Joshna and Deepika, not to take away Saurabh, but yeah, what do you feel about other sports and other decorated athletes?
Of course, when it comes to like you mentioned, Manika had a stellar week at the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, where she won the gold in two events. So she went on to also win the Arjuna Award and the Khel Ratna Award. So hats off, Manika, you're doing a great job. Keep it going. But moving to team sports, I mean, we've had women's cricket come up in a big way in the last couple of years. Mithali Raj, Harmanpreet Kaur, everyone's favorite Jemmy, and Smriti. So
Julian Goswami, she's been there for a very long time.
What do you have to say about this revolution in women's cricket?
Boss, women's cricket has come a very long way. You had about 80,000 odd spectators watching the women's T20 finals between India and Australia and MCG. That just, you don't need to say anything else. If 80,000 people are coming and watching women's cricket, it's come a long way. There's this new girl called Shefali Verma, who absolutely tongs the ball, and I'm a big fan. Coming back to women's cricket, a lot of credit also needs to go to Mithali Raj. She's been there. She's seen the whole transition. Obviously, Smriti, Jemmy came in later, Harman. But Julian Goswami and Mithali Raj have been there right from the start. So they kind of understand what they've gone through, so they can reap the rewards now.
I remember reading an article by Mithali Raj, post their World Cup performance, where she said, we finally get to travel business class. It's not just our male counterparts. We used to travel second AC. We used to get second AC fare, travel by train right till probably now. And we're finally traveling business class. So that just goes to, I mean, there is without doubt a huge discrepancy between the facilities and the fame and the media coverage or the publicity, the sponsorships that come the way of their male counterparts. And I'm glad to see them rise to the occasion. I'm glad to see them coming into the limelight now. Of course, they have a long way to go, but they're on the right track.
Speaking of team sports, Rani Rampal has absolutely changed the face of the Indian women's hockey team. And I think she leads by character. I think everybody looks up to her. I think Rani Rampal is, I don't think she gets enough due for what she's achieved with the women's team over the past year. So Rani Rampal, and the big shout out to Rani and her women's hockey team, on their upward run, and hopefully a lot more medals are going to come their way.
Yes, and the last spot on the list is probably wrestling. Needless to say, I think the Fogart sisters run it like a family business. If not one, it's the other in another weight category who is punching, showing their steel, showing what they're made of. Of course, they've gone on record to talk about some of the issues that as wrestlers or as women in predominantly male dominated sports, some of the issues that they have to face as women athletes, comments about being too muscular, comments about their body size, or pursuing a sport which is embodies and symbolizes muscularity and strength and things that you would usually associate with a male. They've had to subtly, or through comments passed by teammates or family members, they've had to deal with these issues. Athletes generally don't talk about such things, but I want to put it out there that this is something that I've seen at close quarters, even at national camps, or women who travel with teams. You're very often traveling with a male dominated team. Your teammates, your coaches, your managers are all men, and you don't always have a female physio or a female manager traveling with you. And sometimes a female connects with another female much better than she connects with a male. There are various issues, mental and physical, that women go through. And very often we don't have that support staff traveling with us. So this is it is the absolute need of the hour, I would say. Recruitment of ex athletes, or people working in the Sports Authority of India. These jobs need to be created, because every team, be it a racket sport, be it a combat sport, you need a female athlete, manager, a physio, a masseur, traveling with the entire contingent, just to support our women athletes.
Absolutely, I would. I second that. We need more women physiotherapists. We need more women trainers, and it's up to the Sports Authority of India to make sure that it's a must. If a male physio is going, we need to send a female physio, and there shouldn't be any questions asked. We don't ask any questions if there is just a male physio going, right, but there will be multiple questions if only a female physio is traveling. With the contingent of players going across different sports, I think it's imperative to send women physiotherapists, female trainers, female masseurs every tournament. I think that will make lives a lot of easier for our female athletes. As much as we say that things change, the women's athletes go through far worse than what actually a male athlete goes through. The typical dialogue saying that अरे ये तो लड़कों जैसी दिखती है. Duti Chand had to face so many questions, and she's gone to court with all of that. And a player of her standard and her caliber shouldn't be answering these critics.
Absolutely. I mean, we all watched what was portrayed in a movie like Dangal is probably typical. Young male athletes refusing to be trained by a female coach or a female trainer, because they just probably don't listen. She's not as assertive, or she's not as strong to assert her will, or it's below their dignity. That's the typical stereotype, the mentality that still exists. It's sad, and that it persists even today. But that's the sour truth, that the situation in national camps is pretty much on these lines. And I remember watching a documentary during the lockdown, Shlok. It was called Athlete A
I only
strong.
recommended it to you. Okay.
Oh
Don't
yeah, you recommended it.
I only
Yeah.
recommended it to you. I saw this documentary called Athlete,
Yeah,
and I
because
only recommended it to you.
I
Yeah,
recommended it to so many people after
yeah,
that, because I think it's a must see for all
absolutely.
female athletes out there. An absolute must watch. It's basically about sexual harassment that young gymnasts in the US gymnastics team had to endure. And all this was unreported because the male physio was doing what he was doing in a very subtle way, and the young girls were probably unawares, basically, beyond besides any other factor. I think they were just unawares. They didn't know what was happening to them, and that shouldn't be. That's probably the worst thing that a young female athlete would have to go through. So especially because our sporting system is so male dominated, a strong recommendation to all female athletes out there: please go watch Athlete A, and be aware there is a difference between being treated and being harassed or assaulted. So you need to know the difference, and don't be afraid to be vocal and speak about it. If come out in the open and speak about it if at all you're a victim of any such instance.
Satyavachan. On that note, let's take our first break. By the way, guys, our episode is also going to be on YouTube. You can find the full episode on YouTube. So please go out there. Please write a review on the comment box and tell us how you like the episode. Stay tuned, guys. You're listening to the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We are continuing with our special Women's Day episode. So Tanvi, we've spoken about a lot of topics now. What we need to talk about is the pay gap and the disparity in the prize money. I think a lot of players have been very vocal about it. Deepika Pallikal in squash, Serena Williams has been leading this fight for a very long time. Similarly with Billie Jean King. I've got this one question, since you are a badminton player. It's been on my mind. Do you think the women's tour should be kept separately, just like how it is with the WTA and ATP in badminton? Do you think there should be a separate women's circuit altogether?
So interesting question. I think separating the two would especially today. I mean, if you go back, like you mentioned, to the a couple of years, we had this Chinese domination where you had the top 5 in the world, 4 were Chinese players. But now, if you look at the spectrum, we have Tai Tzu Ying from Taipei, we have Carolina Marin from Spain, we have Okuhara from Japan, we have PV Sindhu from India. So women's singles is in a very, very exciting era at present. Different game styles, different fitness levels, different playing styles there. Pattern of play, stroke play, it's all different. Everyone's physicality is at a different level. You have Tai Tzu Ying, who's sporting a six-pack. You have Carolina Marin, who plays at a men's singles pace. You have He Bingjiao, who doesn't look particularly fit and lean, but is supremely talented and moves effortlessly on court. So with this with the era that we are in right now, I think women's badminton would do a great sense of good in terms of viewership, just because of the variety that we're getting to see. I mean, there was a time when there was a very sorry situation. Women's singles matches were spectators would get up from the stand and move to where a men's singles player was playing, and it would probably hurt the women's singles player. But it's no more the case. You actually have flocks of people coming to watch Carolina Marin play, or Tai Tzu Ying display her array of reverse drops and dives and cross-court net shots and flicks, and there's so much. It's so exciting to actually see these artists, if I may call them, on court. So having a separate tour, and making sure that the prize money is equivalent to their male counterparts, I think would do the sport a great deal of good.
I think we've come a long way. I think badminton has always supported equal prize money for men and women. I think for a very long time. I think that there has been a change now with tennis. You've seen the whole developments with a lot of these male players also telling that we play best of 5, a 5-setter match at the Grand Slam tournaments, where the female counterparts play the best of 3 set of matches. What's your take on the whole tennis debate?
Well, that's to start with. There is no denying the fact that there is a difference between a male athlete and a female athlete, right? That's the whole premise on which sport is based. I mean, going back, this is an interesting fact that I came across when I was reading up the other day, which going back to say the when the Olympics actually started, the Greek civilization, or women were not even allowed into as spectators into the Olympic arena. It was just the male participants, and women were forbidden from not only participation but also entering the Olympic arena. And then there came a Spartan female who found a loophole in these rules and trained in an equestrian event, and actually went on to defeat all her male counterparts and win an Olympic medal. And she repeated the feat after 4 years. So, and that was how women were gradually inducted into the Olympics. And so, coming back to your question.
You basically told the story of Dil Bole Hadippa
Oh, really? I
in
haven't
Greek
watched that.
mythology. So, which is okay. I mean, I don't know why I said that, but yeah, continue.
So yeah, I mean, there is no denying the fact that everything that goes with sport, be it the physicality, be it the masculinity, there is no denying that sport is more a male is more probably designed physically to play sport. But having said that, we have a battalion of female achievers in various sports, in various disciplines. And if a best of three is what supports a woman's athletic capabilities, then as long as she's competing with other women, I don't see any issue there.
I think it's better you standardize it, no? On the ATP tour, men's play only best of three. No, it's only when they come to Grand Slams they play best of five, right?
True.
Standardize it. So as if you're not playing best of five matches when you're going to the ATP tour, right? At least the females are playing at a standard format.
True.
You standardize the format, or you tell in Grand Slams females also have to play best of five. I think female athletes are fit enough to play 3 or 4 or 5 sets as well. You look at Simona Halep. Simona Halep will play 10 sets, what 5 sets. She will like play 5 sets. She'll like outrun me after that and play more 5 sets. So I think it's better to standardize everything. But again, that's just my view, and I could be wrong also.
Yeah, but moving on from there, another issue which we did talk briefly about, but I think it's I think it's something that we should cover, which is the proneness of women to certain injuries. This is something that you may not realize, coaches may not realize when they're designing training programs, but it's something trainers, coaches need to bear in mind, that the female body goes through a cycle, and there are different phases of the cycle during which she's prone to different kinds of injuries. And it's there has been this entire study and research that's been conducted, and it's now an established fact that females are more prone to ACL injuries, which is the ligament in the knee, ACL tears and concussions during a certain phase of her cycle. So I think to all our millennial athletes out there, and to all the coaches and support staff that are listening to our podcast, please bear this in mind when designing training programs, which are usually 4 to 6 week training programs. So this factor needs to be borne in mind. Load management during this particular phase needs to be different. Nutrition, recovery methods during this phase needs to be given more importance to. And I think more than anything, the female athlete needs to be aware and tuned into her own body, so that she's minimizing the risk of a career-threatening injury.
Wow. I didn't know that. Thank you for educating me on that. Next time I train my female students, I will keep that in mind, that I'm not going to push her all the 4 weeks of her training. You spoke a bit about the body image for a female athlete. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad situation. And in fact, there's this organization called Women in Sport, which is, their feature for this Women's Day is, body image related issues. And we were just talking about it yesterday. The founder of Women in Sport had asked me whether I've ever been a victim of, any comments by male coaches, or as to, why do you dress a particular way, or why do you look a particular way, or um, and though I've luckily been fortunate to never have been a victim myself, I have seen it at very close quarters. um, and girls very often go into a shell. It affects their mental health in a very very sorry way, in a very very bad way. And in extreme cases it may lead to mental health issues like them becoming suicidal, them questioning themselves, getting into depression is probably the last step. But we've seen it across different sports, and it all starts with one lewd remark or one comment from someone in authority, someone in power, who may not realize it, who may say it in a mocking way. Why do you run so slow? Look at your legs, you're so fat. It may be said in a very mocking way or in the heat of the moment during a training session, but it leaves a very very deep impact on a girl's mental situation. So that should be borne in mind, because the female girls are generally quite sensitive. And in case there is an issue with weight, it needs to be dealt with in a subtler way. I mean, you can deal with it through nutrition, through proper training, through counseling, but not through ridiculing or making lewd remarks, especially in a public setting.
True. I absolutely agree. I think it all starts with being aware. Sometimes kids tend to say stuff like "Arey tu to moti hai." And I think it's very important for the parents to tell their kids that it's not right to body shame anyone, be it a male athlete or a female athlete. As you said, there are multiple ways of getting back into shape, but that one comment or hundreds of comments basically scar you for life.
Absolutely. So I think this has turned out to be quite a lesson in an education session for our female listeners. Of course.
And male listeners.
And male listeners, yeah.
For more educational purposes, please contact Tanvi Rad and Shlok Ramchandran. We will help you with all of this.
But no denying the fact that our female athletes are superstars. They have, broken barriers, broken different ceilings from time to time. And I mean, just this week, we have Sania Mirza. As we speak, we have Sania Mirza playing the semifinals of the Qatar Open. She's a force to reckon with. She has her baby in her arms in every Instagram story, and the next thing you know, she's winning a Grand Slam or winning something on the WTA tour. So we have Sania Mirza in Qatar. We have Ankita Raina, another very promising tennis player who won a WTA title last week. And after Sania Mirza and Shikha Oberoi, I think she's just the third Indian to win a WTA title. So lots happening with our female athletes.
Malvika Bansod won at Uganda last week. She won the Uganda International Series. So big win for the young teenager. It's so happy to see a young teenager going outside and doing well. And obviously the icing of the cake being that she's from Maharashtra. So.
Absolutely. And of course, PV Sindhu, as we speak, has entered the quarterfinals of the Swiss Open in Basel, hoping that it turns out to be her lucky place. She repeats the feat that she achieved at the World Championships and goes on to regain her form with a win in Basel this week.
Also, Hima Das, the new DSP in Assam Police.
Absolutely.
So absolutely killing it. They are not breaking ceilings. They are making new ceilings now. Manu Bhakar, absolute stellar performances. Manu Bhakar and Apurvi Chandela in shooting. So, I mean, there's this very famous lingo, right? Who run the world, right? So it is quite true that who runs the world. It's most definitely girls. So absolutely, we should not be celebrating female athletes just because it is Women's Day today. We should be celebrating, all female athletes on all days, and not to forget, female athletes like PT Usha, Anju Bobby George, Aparna Popat. All of them have also, played a big part in what a female sport today is.
Absolutely. I mean, they've shown this young brigade what they've given us a glimpse of what performing on the world stage is like. And then, of course, the girls of this decade have taken cue from there and gone on to achieve the feats that they have. But yes, our all our seniors, to all our seniors out there, a big shout out. Thank you for all the inspiration. And yeah, Shlok, on that note, I think it's a wrap.
End slate de do.
De do.
On that note, we come to an end to another episode of The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to all of them on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow IVM on their social media handle, that is @IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you like this episode, please go and leave out a review in whatever podcast platform you listen to. We would love to we would love to read about your comments and about the reviews on the show. If you want to reach out to me personally, please do. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter with the handle @SHLOKH95.
And you can reach out to me on @TanviLad93 on Instagram and Twitter.
Until then, ciao. We shall be back very soon with another fresh episode of The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. Once again, a very happy Women's Day. Thank you, everyone.